Hey guys, and welcome to my attempt of trying to organize some of the thoughts that I have on DD gameplay. First of all, I'm gonna be talking about the initial assessment of the situation and the cap approach. And the reason why I think this is really important is once you engage the enemy, there are so many things to be mindful about that it's really good to have an idea before going in what you're going to face. So, this game, I'm in a daring, and the enemy has DDs that outspot me. They have 2 radars, possibly even 3. There's a Yu Yang, which might have radar. And they also have a Smolensks. So, I know that there is a risk. There's a risk that whatever enemy DD I see first has a bit of a nasty support. This is actually why I'm taking this route into the cap. I always want to make sure that I can see what's coming towards the cap from the enemy side. I don't want to get surprised. I don't want to get behind that island in the cap. I want to be in the open so I can spot ships coming in. And as you've seen, we've already spotted the Alsace and the Kurfürst. In the daring, I can definitely gun down any destroyer that I see here. So I'm not too worried about the destroyers. I just don't want to get caught by a radar cruiser coming into the cap, or be surprised that there's a Smolensks just showing up right next to me. So I'm keeping distance to this island. I'm taking this approach where I'm sort of scouting to see is there something trying to get in behind that island in front of me. That island is actually my biggest threat at this point. It's the one thing that might surprise me is something sneaking in behind that island. Sending torps to the Kurfürst, and here I'm spotted. The enemy GDs outspot me, but I go towards it, because I know I can gun down this DD. And of course in the Shimakaze versus daring gunfight, it shouldn't be too much of a problem. I'm going behind this island so that if he torped, there's no way that those torps are gonna get me. The other Shimakaze is also opening up, so obviously gonna try to get a few shots in on that as well. And then I am spotted by ships in the open, so I'm smoking up. Don't want to lose any unnecessary HP at this point. And as soon as my smoke firing penalty is down, I can take a few pot shots if there's something visible, but otherwise just get out of the way. I can see the Kurfürst, so I'll see if I can get a few shots in before the smoke clears. So now once again we have a different situation. I know where the enemy destroyer is. I know what kind of backup he's brought. I have vision of all the radars, and they're not on my flank. If I'd seen a radar cruiser approach this cap, of course I would have played much more safe and started disengaging. We need to kill the Kurfürst, so sending some torps in case he decides to move a bit forward again. He's probably still reversing, so it probably won't hit, but it never hurts. I'm taking this wide approach, being pretty careful, because I don't want to get spotted when I haven't spotted the Smolensks yet. And in fact, if you look at these shells coming from in there, they're definitely not Shimakaze shells that were coming from the smoke. So playing a bit careful here. And I don't even mind going outside of the cap and allowing them to cap a little bit, because we have the advantage in this flank at this point. And I now know exactly where the Smolensks is. Now I'm gonna show a few more examples of this, but the Smolensk is actually vulnerable to destroyers. Quite opposite of what a lot of people think. I think that Smolensk is the worst nightmare of the destroyers and just loves encountering destroyers, but while the Smolensk can be the destroyer's worst nightmare, it can definitely also be the destroyer that really ruins the day of the Smolensk. Because the Smolensk is often sitting in smoke, firing outside of the smoke, and or firing out of the smoke. And the Smolensk has a smoke firing penalty of 5.9 kilometers. It's got a hydro that, yeah, there you go. It's hydro if it had been up, which I don't completely know. It's probably on cooldown. Would have spotted me 5 kilometers away. That's why I didn't charge directly into this Smolensk. I'm also only doing this because I know that I have my smoke ready if the Smolensk comes out of the smoke or the Shimakaze spots me. But I spotted the Smolensk and my teammates got a really good, that was the Georgia down there, got a really good hit on it. But even if he hadn't, I could have just sat there and farmed the Smolensk for a while, and they actually melt pretty quick to HE, so. Shimakaze shot from outside of the smoke, probably thought that I was staying in my smoke, which I have no intention of doing, of course, so we kill the Shimakaze. And that's basically it. The things that I'm looking for at the beginning of the game are having an idea of what my ship can do, what the enemy destroyers can do, what kind of support they might be bringing, and being very mindful of the terrain and the spotting that's gonna happen. The next game here on Mountain Range is a classic example of what you can do in a destroyer. Actually, just not really doing much in this game, but at least at the beginning, which is what I'm going to be focusing on. But looking at the destroyers on the enemy team, there are 2 destroyers that severely outspot me, which are the Shimakaze, and then there's the Gearing, which also does outspot me. The B cap on this map is pretty open. There's really not a lot of possibility for anyone to really sneak up that close to the cap. All they can do is be, if there's a cruiser that has got good concealment, they can of course get somewhat close, but with my gun power I'm not too worried about cruisers being outside of my spotting of their concealment and the support that they can give. I believe that being that much closer to the enemy DD is gonna give me an advantage in a gunfight. I also do have a division mate in a Thunderer, asking him to turn his guns towards B, and I also see the Smolensk, which probably doesn't have anything else to shoot at, so some support may be there. But you shouldn't rely on your own team's support. If your survival depends on your team killing destroyers fast, then that's not the best approach, in my opinion, because, I mean, dispersion control them, they're a long distance away, destroyers can dodge. I spot the Gearing almost the same time as he spots me, and I start shooting, and immediately, okay, there are actually 4 ships aiming at me, so I'm smoking up. keeps shooting where I think he is. Alright, there. See where the shells come from and blind fire the smoke. And that actually gave an additional 1000 damage. This was 8000 damage on gearing, which is quite significant. And the damage that I received in return is much less. I have much more HP to spend, and I have my heals. So after this, the gearing actually has to disengage. I spot the Worcester coming towards the cap, so slowly moving away. I really want to take the cap before exiting. And this is gonna be tight, but I think it'll be worth it for he'll get one salvo, so if I can take the cap before getting out. Yep. Here's the shots. I'm trying to dodge as much as I can. Lose a little bit of HP, it's fine. And the gearing's down to half HP and completely disengaging from this cap. So winning the initial engagement and scaring away the destroyers just makes the rest of the game a lot easier. I'm gonna show an example of a clan battle here. In clan battles it's even more dangerous to get towards the caps and get into the caps at the beginning of the game. The enemy has a heavy radar setup here, and they also have a Smolensk and an enemy destroyer. So if I get caught in a radar in a position where they can all shoot me, I might be dead right at the beginning of the game. And getting that C cap is almost, I mean, if they play it right, there's no way I'm just gonna go in there and take it. They would have to misplay severely. So instead of going directly for the cap, I'm going for the enemies that are supporting the cap. So I'm going to the mid, trying to spot, and we spot the Stalingrad. This is why I'm saying we need to also be mindful of spotting mechanics. Trying to spot these radar cruisers early, push them away, and my team gets a really, really good hit on it. And that Stalingrad is forced to bow in, which makes it easy for me to keep spotting him. And he's just not gonna have a very good time, actually. Smoke coming up right at us is definitely gonna be a Smolensk. So as soon as my torpedoes are reloaded, I'm gonna try to harass the Smolensk and possibly catch it completely off guard, but at least push it out of its smoke. So, torps towards the smoke. The enemy Stalingrad is already dead now because of that early spotting and some really good marksmanship on my team. I'm still not going into this cap though, because there's a Moskva that is gonna radar me as soon as I enter. There's a destroyer somewhere, and there's still a Smolensk which will have angles on me almost no matter where I go in. The only place where I might be able to go in is that island right in front of me, the tall one, and that would be very risky. There's a Moskva pushing the other flank, so they may actually surround us enough that they can shoot behind the island. With two Moskvas, they can keep me radared for a very long time. Got lucky with the torps. Smolensk is out of the game, so at this point I could go in, but it's still a bit risky. The enemy has two radars there, and we actually don't have radars on this side. So just no reason to risk it, so I'm going out wide to spot the Moskva instead. And we have an advantage that we don't need to waste by being overly aggressive. I'm gonna show an example of like the other side of what's happening, what I'm actually trying to avoid happening. This time I'm playing a radar cruiser and a Russian light cruiser with really good ballistics, good DPM. It's a nightmare for destroyers. This is what you want to spot before committing to a cap. So as a cruiser player, I obviously want to catch the destroyers off guard. So I'm going behind this island initially, trying to make sure that I don't get spotted going into the cap. This serves two purposes. I can take shots at battleships spotted in the distance by lobbing shells over the island, even though I have these Russian ballistics. These are pretty shallow islands that will cover my ship, but I can shoot over them. The other, and actually the biggest reason why I'm taking this route, is I'm hoping to catch destroyers going into this cap off guard. I always have my surveillance radar range turned on. The reason why you see me turn it on is right here is because for some reason it's not turned on the replay whenever I open. So just to show you, the radar entirely covers this cap. I'm going out here already ready to kite away, and now I'm spotted, so that means I have vision on the radar, on the DD with my radar. So this black really is gonna have a pretty bad time because he committed to something that he didn't know what was, basically. There are too many islands on this cap for a destroyer to be able to spot everything that's coming in there. So also taking shots at whatever I just can get a small hit on. So that's 12k on destroyers. That's pretty massive at the very beginning of the game for a very short radar. Right. This is gonna be bonus info. I showed the Smolensks being spotted from firing in smoke before, and here I'm gonna show the same thing in a different game here, still in the Daring, and the Daring is actually one of the harder ships to do this because you have a spotting range of 6 kilometers, while you need to be within 5.9 kilometers of the Smolensks to spot it when it's firing. Once again, I'm taking a careful approach here. I'm not sailing directly towards the Smolensks, because if I suddenly get hydroed between his shots, I can't tell exactly where he is in the smoke. There he is. If I was nose in and sailing directly towards him, I might actually get within the hydro range and just sit there. That would be awkward, so. But I'm spotting the Smolensks here once again, and I do have good support from my team, so this is not only a fairly easy kill for them, it also means that he would have had a lot of targets to shoot, which obviously when dead he's not gonna do. This may seem like a situational skill, and of course it is somewhat situational, but the 3 examples that I'm showing are from the last 5 games that I played in destroyers, so it happens. So when you have a ship that is such a natural counter to your ship, it's really good to get rid of it, and get rid of it as soon as you have the opening. I can only do this, of course, because I know where the enemy DDs are. I won't be spotted, hydroed, radared, anything. So be careful, of course. I'm gonna use the same smoke firing penalty mechanics once again here. This was a really tight game, and it actually looks lost at this point. It's only me and Shimakaze who did exceptionally well this game. Against 6 enemies, they have more points, they have more caps, they have radar, they have a Smolensk, and yeah, it looks pretty bad. So we're gonna have to count on them to make some mistakes. The Puerto Rico, their only radar ship, made a big mistake right there, putting himself between the torps and an island so he couldn't actually really dodge the one. Yu Yang wanted to join the party. I was kind of surprised to see him there, but had way more HP, so no worries. Still though, it looks like a lost match. Smolensk is not gonna be too easy for Shimakaze to kill. I, at this point, thought he would go the other way, but nope, he came back. Right there. Okay, so this looks pretty bad for me. He's got almost 25k HP, and I've got 8.5 at this point. And he is a Smolensk. But I'm putting my smoke down, and I'm keeping distance. I assume he's running Hydro, so I don't want to get inside that 5 kilometer right away, but I also need to kill him. So, sailing away, trying to keep distance. Unfortunately, he has a pretty fast ship, so I need to kill him fast. But look at how fast Smolensk actually melts to HE. He gets close enough that this is gonna be a bit difficult, and he's also healing. But he does show a bit too much broadside. I'm using AP, and yeah, British AP is pretty good. And just enough to win this game by 3 points. Pretty lucky. Right, that's it, at least for this time. Let me know if you have any suggestions. Thank you, and see you later.